Hi everyone, my name is Marcus and you're watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about Aquaforest Reef Salt. So what is there to say about Aquaforest Reef Salt? Well, surprisingly, quite a bit. It's a well-priced salt with middle-of-the-range parameters that means it's well suited to most tanks without much likelihood of causing major parameter swings unless you run on what's considered either extreme of high or low parameters within the standard ranges. At a reef tank salinity of 35 parts per million, you're looking at parameters in the salt of about 8 DKH, 450 parts per million calcium, 1,380 parts per million magnesium, and 390 parts per million potassium. All of these are right in the middle of what is a standard recommended range for those parameters in a marine fish tank with coral. It's a fully synthetic salt, which can reduce the likelihood of contaminants and should increase the consistency of the salt. And more importantly, for many people, synthetic salt tends to have less insoluble precipitants left over when mixing, aka the brown crud that can build up in your mixing container, common with some salts. Here I have a 5-litre bucket, which is a handy size to purchase even if only once, because the bucket makes an awesome and useful frag container when you're done with the salt. The larger buckets are obviously more cost effective and are available, but these small ones can be useful in a pinch and they're easier to handle if lugging around a 25 kilo bucket of salt is not really an option for you. What I like about Aquaforest Reef Salt is that it comes with this handy measuring scoop, which has specific gradations on it for the amount of salt required to mix at 10 and 20 litres of RODI respectively. So I guess that level of guidance is ingrained in the Aquaforest method. Everything is designed to be easy to use with no hard math or reliance on you doing the testing to work out your levels and parameters. The middle of the road parameters, the super simple dosing instructions, and the consistency of a synthetic salt all add up to be, simply put, a solution that you can trust. Price-wise, typically Aquaforest Reef Salt is middle of the range. It's more expensive than Red Sea Blue Bucket, but cheaper than Aquarium Systems Reef Crystals. However, my advice on salt is that realistically, unless you're going to be going through an enormous quantity of salt, or you're on a very strict budget, the per year cost difference between most of the salts on the market won't equate to much more than a couple of cups of coffee by the end of the year. So I would suggest making the decision on what salt to use based on the brand that you trust and the parameters that match your tank and dosing strategy. Other factors like being a synthetic versus an evaporated salt, having elevated trace or not, the size of the bucket and the presence of precipitants or not can all play a part too. As you would expect from a synthetic salt like this, the mixing is extremely rapid. The water goes clear within a couple of minutes with little to no precipitants visible. Like most salts, Aquaforest recommends that if you're storing the salt water in a mixing container for any period of time prior to use, it should be heated and circulated. There is one big differentiator with the Aquaforest salt that I haven't touched on yet, and it is definitely worth mentioning. Aquaforest does ICP-OES testing on every single batch of salt that they produce and makes that data available to the consumer. You can simply go to their website, enter the code found underneath the lid of your salt to see the ICP-OES test results for your exact batch of salt. Whilst this shouldn't be taken as an ICP test for your tank water, as so many other factors and your coral's consumption of elements will impact on that, it should give you confidence that the salt you are putting in your tank is at the range that you want and may even assist you with further trace element dosing regimes if you're getting into that. For example, you might find that a salt batch that you've purchased has slightly lower strontium than you want. So you'll know that by checking their website, and should you want to, you could top up the strontium levels in that salt accordingly prior to your water change, so that you can maintain the level where you want. Having access to this knowledge and this level of flexibility with regard to where you want to keep your parameters based on that knowledge is quite unique in the market. Overall, there is no reason not to recommend Aquaforest Reef Salt. It's a great product by a well-trusted company. We all know and love the purple packaging. It should give you confidence that there is another aspect of your tank with a big tick next to it that you can take off your mind to focus on something more interesting, like what coral or fish to buy next. That's all for today. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. My name is Marcus and you've been watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. Bye for now.